Thanks for joining this session on Is Your Cloud Content Strategy a Ticking Time Bomb? My name is Wille, Director of Strategic Alliances here at Foxit Software. Let's start by taking a look at what's happening in the market when it comes to storage. Dell EMC did some research by talking to over 2,200 IT decision makers in large organizations, and they found that there's an explosive growth by over 569% from 1.45 petabytes on average all the way to 9.7 petabytes in just the 2 years between 2016 and 18. So storage growth is tremendous currently, and it continues to grow. Another example of this explosive growth is research by the Enterprise Storage Forum, who found that initial estimates of how big the big data might get are often laughable within just a year or two. Now, while storage requirements have gone up dramatically, storage cost at the same time has gone down dramatically. Even for public cloud storage, the cost has become cheaper by the terabyte. But you really need to pay attention to all of the fees that those cloud storage providers charge you, because those other costs can rise alarmingly. When it comes to cloud storage, it's a bit of a wild west out there. It very much depends on what you're actually buying in the cloud. Are you getting an entire enterprise content management system in the cloud where you're storing content, or CRM solution? The storage costs are often measured in gigabytes per month, while at the same time, if you're going with a cloud storage vendor like AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud, of course, you're not getting an application there. You're just storing your stuff in the cloud. Here, storage cost is measured per terabyte, and it's dramatically less. However, is that the whole story? Of course, there's much more to it. Here's some great research by the Druva 2017 AWS Cloud Data Protection Survey. They found that 49% of respondents never did realize their cloud storage savings that they thought they would see. The key ingredient being that, in fact, cost was the biggest barrier to adoption. Specifically, egress costs, the costs to access the content that you have stored in the cloud, are particularly thorny. So, how do you determine if you have that ticking time bomb? The first thing to do is to take a look at what do you have now. Take a look at what content is there. Specifically, by file type might be a great way to take a peek at, for example, your business documents. Good old TIFFs, JPEGs, scanned PDFs often are quite large and can take up terabytes of space. In addition to that, of course, audio video content tends to be a big culprit. Finally, where are you going? How much are you increasing? Is that increase, in fact, accelerating over time? And do you have some insight into where your organization is going? Are you looking to acquire other organizations? Are you looking to shut down other systems and therefore have some content migrations to consider? Next is to take a look at what are you paying now, both for storage and egress and any other charges that you have with the cloud. Because I think this is one of the issues, is that organizations are only looking at their storage cost when they initially look at this, because that's what they're used to for on-premise charges. And so also, how is your access profile of your content changing over time? So take a look at other opportunities to limit how much you can access. And of course, other opportunities to move things with the right provider. Now it's time to try to figure out how can you go about diffusing that bomb. And there are three parts to the prospect of defusing the bomb. So let's look at those three. First of all, take a look at your content and decide, what do you actually need to keep around? From there, you can get into the how long do you need to keep it? And then finally, how could you optimize what you are keeping? So let's tackle these one at a time. Do you need it? This is really a question that requires involving your business users. In the end, they're the ones that have the insight into what's worth keeping and what can you get rid of. It's really critical to partner with the business here, because otherwise you may be setting yourself up for rogue users who will do anything they can in order to hold on to the content they feel that they must keep. And so that means content on personal laptops, USB drives, personal cloud storage, and that's only causing entirely new problems. And of course, there's that question of those shared drives that might still be out there and whether those are properly managed at this point. Now that you've figured out what you are keeping, the question becomes where and how long. On the topic of how long, the best thing to consider is to implement retention policies. Great opportunity to check to see what regulatory requirements you need to adhere to, and setting up a proper record retention policy for your organization, and therefore automatically removing content when it's no longer needed. In addition to that, there's a topic of where. On-premise and cloud storage give you the opportunity to store your content in multiple different cost factors, whether or not it's your active archive as well as your deep archive that you don't access much. Costs can be dramatically different, so it's definitely worth looking into what type of storage medium you'll use on-premise as much as in the cloud. Finally, it comes down to what you are keeping. Could you somehow optimize it? There's a great opportunity to leverage advanced document compression while converting your files to PDF. Your image files are the best candidate for this. TIFFs, JPEG, scanned PDFs, anything that was either scanned or photographed tends to be a good example of a document that is often quite large and could benefit dramatically from advanced document compression. The key ingredient whenever you consider advanced document compression, however, is to make sure that you're testing carefully. Some of the vendors will make very nice small files, but destroy your image quality. Others will make great images, but not actually shrink your files very much. So it's good to check out a few vendors and take a look at, can you get great compression and image quality? Those vendors are out there, so it's worth looking. So let's take a look at some document compression examples to give you a feeling for just how much smaller might your files actually get. The first example is a traditional black and white invoice. Scanned in, about 100K when stored as a TIFF file, G4 compressed. How much smaller could a 141K file get? And the answer is substantially smaller. In this case, 76% smaller while the document is converted to PDF and while it's turned into a searchable PDF. Most conversion tools, when converting from TIFF into searchable PDF, the file will get larger. So when looking at compression technology, definitely look for compression results for binary documents in the 40 to 60% range. 76% is a great result for this particular document, but on average, 40 to 60% is more realistic when looking for great image quality before and after. So the zoomed in images on the left side for before and on the right side or after show you that in fact there is no loss of image quality That's what you should look for. The next example is a color invoice. Still a TIFF file, JPEG compressed, about 0.5 megabyte in size. So how much smaller could this get? And the answer is dramatically smaller. In this case, 93% from 526K to 39K, while again, it's turned into a searchable PDF file. You can see the text is crystal clear before and after. You can see in this case that the background does not look as nice when zooming in really deeply here. And that's how advanced document compression works. It's a great opportunity for business documents where the color background is not relevant to dramatically reduce file size and therefore dramatically reduce storage costs. The final example is a magazine page with advertisement and some text. In this case, quite large, over 7 megabytes as a JPEG compressed image. How much smaller could it get? Fantastically smaller, from 7 megabytes down to 60K, 99% compression. Still, the text is crystal clear to read. You can see that the shirt and tie in the advertisement that's on the page does not look quite as nice. And again, this is a question of use case. In some use cases, no one cares about the ad, so losing a little bit of image quality here is no problem. For use cases where the ad and the image need to look good, it's a simple question of adjusting the compression settings. So make sure that as you look at compression software, you're selecting technology that gives you that flexibility to make these adjustments and therefore get the best possible outcome for your case, your use case and situation. So now that you've come to the conclusion that there might be a great opportunity to save on storage and egress costs, it's a question of how do you build a business justification that in fact shows that the value is here. The first thing to do is to collect vital data in order to put a simple ROI calculation together. In this example, we have a customer with 50 terabytes of storage in the cloud that they have already, but they're adding 10 terabytes per year. And in fact, they're seeing an acceleration in growth of 10%. So this year it's 10 terabytes of new storage, next year 11, and so on. They have a long retention period of 20 years. And they're storing their content on AWS S3, $503 a terabyte per year right now. And so you can see down below in the second table that what the storage costs as well as egress, this is 20% egress based on AWS fees, will be significant costs, over $800,000 after the end of the retention period. So if you were to achieve something like 45% compression on your documents, you can now see just how much lower your storage costs would be. Of course, they're 45% lower. So there's a significant savings opportunity, and therefore, here are the savings. And that's a great first step in figuring out whether or not it's worth your while to get into advanced document compression for your documents. So a bit on Foxit software. We're specializing on the PDF file format with cloud services, desktop, mobile, software development toolkits, and of course, server platforms for mass document conversion as well as compression. We've been an OpenText partner for 15 years, and our solutions are compatible with all OpenText content management solutions. So give us a call. We'd love to show you what's possible, especially with your documents, and help you with that ROI calculation to quickly determine if this is going to make sense for your situation. And if it does look right, of course, we also offer evaluation licenses so that you can do extensive proof of concept testing and make sure that the results are there for your documents in your situation and your environment.